Office 2012 or whatever it is, and then say, well, you've got to have that because that's how we collaborate in our documents, and you won't be able to do it with a separate standalone client and LibreOffice because it'll be expecting that tie-in, you know?
Yeah, I believe they already have something like communication servers. Communications is, plural, but I'm not sure if they work with Cisco on this one. I'm not sure which protocols they used, but they have been trying something like this for quite a few years, and it never seemed to have really kind of gathered enough steam, because I don't hear so much about it anymore.
Now they've bought bought Skype, they've got the Skype user base as well, and maybe that's the missing link.
Yeah, and
Microsoft has done that more than once, where they couldn't quite get their solution to work or be adopted, so they just buy somebody else's and say it will.
Yeah, I mean, another thing they could do here is, if they integrate it like that, is they could actually have the server end on their cloud service, so that you've got a basic Office, well, I'm saying basic, the normal Office suite without that functioning, and to have that functionality, you would have to pay a regular subscription to their cloud service to get that to work. And even that, they could have that put in as like the home and student version is limited to certain things you can do with it and certain numbers of users on a collaboration, and the enterprise one allows you more, and all the different pay rates.
They would have a really hard time enforcing that, given how competitive Citrix is in that field.
Well, maybe.
Citrix is part of Microsoft in some sense. Actually, it's interesting, the CEO of Citrix was quoted a few days ago as saying something like I probably couldn't quote it precisely, but it's something about the clouds are like the new platform and the desktop is yesterday's platform. Something like that. Of course, their main product basically is allowing people to access computers and things remotely, and mostly I think they work mostly with Windows, although they did in fact acquire Zen a while ago, back in 2007, I think. But it's, when you mention Citrix, you're talking about a company that works really closely with Microsoft, and in fact,
I know that.
I think Citrix was like Partner of the Year for Microsoft in 2008. So that kind of shows you how close they are.
So there's another angle that they could pull as well, is, what they did with Samba. They were licensed to go and just mess with the Samba guys and just keep changing the code, keep moving the goalposts to make sure that it was incompatible. Now, I would not be surprised to find that they change something in the protocol and make sure that only Windows to Windows Skype calls get the full quality, and that anything that's Windows to Linux or Windows to Apple or Apple to Apple or any combination that excludes Windows, you'll find it's either
but that would kind of break
or
Skype as a whole, because one of the reasons that Apple users are not adopting FaceTime is they don't see the point to it when they have Skype. As soon as you break that, you then create a boxing match across the industry for who's on site. If Microsoft tries to really cut out Android, WebOS, iOS, iPhones and iPads and Macs, and they can maybe get away with it with Linux, but that would be desktop Linux only. If they try and cut WebOS and Android and every form of Linux out, they're going to destroy the platform.
Well, they have a bit of a gamble. We spoke about it yesterday. I think they were hoping to try and lift up the sales of Windows Mobile, or actually now it's called something else, but it's the same rubbish basically.
7,
which is terrible. I think they used to brag about it, saying it's kind of compatible and actually sharing some technology with Silverlight. And some of the things I read actually said quite explicitly, Microsoft is going to support Windows better, and I think it actually came from Microsoft. They said something like that. And one of the other things I read was maybe they will try and make a Silverlight-based client, which is still a bit strange because they pretty much gave up on Silverlight. I call it Silverlight because the whole thing is basically a sham. The way they started the marketing campaign, it was supposed to give you the illusion that everybody was running to Silverlight and it was going to destroy Flash, and Then they lie to you. They say, oh, it's cross-platform. It works fine on Linux, which of course it was.
You say they've given up on it, but on anything that's a Microsoft cloud platform, Silverlight is pushed left and right. I mean, you cannot even log into the Bing webmaster tools without the ability to be compatible with Silverlight.
Well, I'll tell you, there are some opposite examples. For example, I think it's like something to do with maps or the 3D streets or whatever. They used to be based on Silverlight. Now they basically dropped that in favor of HTML. And this isn't the only example. I mean, the number of clients that have using video and actually embedding the video in Silverlight is going nowhere. I think every major client that Microsoft basically paid for, he just paid them, be our poster child. They pretty much all abandoned the platform.
I think Netflix is the last one, and Netflix is looking
moved to HTML5. We spoke about this yesterday as well. And the other ones, I can only think if that's still true. There is one television channel in Italy that still uses that. In the UK, there were several of them. They all abandoned, as far as I know, they all abandoned Silverlight. There was the National Baseball League in the United States. There was, I think the New York Times was experimenting with it in some capacity for books, and they also basically, I cannot think of one major example. I mean, there was the Olympics, but, and that was also a bit of a shame.
The other thing they could do as well is tie some web component in to require ActiveX, which means Internet Explorer.
Yeah, not many people use that now, so it's going to cost them quite a bit of trouble. I mean, I spoke to a friend of mine who barely uses computer, and even he's using Firefox by choice, so because it's better.
Call me crazy. If Microsoft tried to do that, I think both the EU and the United States Fed would jump down their gullet.
Well, maybe not. See, this is at a time where Microsoft have successfully managed to lose the DOJ oversight. That's ended now, and various attempts have been met with, well, Microsoft are okay now. Their last decade's problem, this decade's problem is Google. Forget about Microsoft. They've learned their lesson. We don't need to watch them anymore. That's the kickback they're getting. When you say, well, look, Microsoft are still a problem. They've not been properly punished, and they're still at it. And that's the kind of response that falls on.
Yeah, well, lobbying efforts, especially trying to find a new villain with Google, that's something that we spoke about yesterday in the context of, well, basically Microsoft's PR agency, something starts with a B.
Well, it does not help Google that you have companies like Facebook trying to shift the concern about them to Google. That's become like the new PR campaign. Facebook actually got caught doing that. They had to admit that they had been planting stories on the web to shift public opinion that people are more concerned about Google than Facebook.
Yeah, well, this was done with the same PR firm, by the way, which had been working with Microsoft since 2007. Did you know that? Oh, so it's a well-known thing. Okay. Because I wasn't sure, I wrote about it about a week ago, and I wasn't sure many people were aware of the connection that was there. And of course, Facebook is partly owned by Microsoft, and and they have all these special relationships.
I thought Facebook turned Microsoft's money away.
No.
Partly.
Okay.
Yeah. And Zuckerberg, I can tell you on a personal level, he knows he's friends with the executives inside. Actually, it's interesting. One of his good friends was in fact not Ozzy. What was it? The guy who just left Microsoft, the platform chief or cloud.
Well, you need to narrow it down a bit.
No, I'm trying to give you the exact name. Is it not? I think it's Ozzy. Basically, Ozzy was a good friend of Zuckerberg, and they used to meet and stuff like that. And actually, Zuckerberg was also meeting the biggest patent troll, Nathan Myhrvold, the guy from Microsoft. He's got all these friends, and you kind of see who he hangs out with. It's kind of like Larry Ellison.
Is it just me, or has Zuckerberg become the new pope? He's going around meeting all the key people. I have the blessing of the Zuckerberg. I shall do well.
I mean, this is the thing with the kind of culture, though, and especially in America, it's all about money. The people who can make as much money through whatever field they're in, that's the religion. Well, that's the religion. Zuckerberg has Facebook's got a huge problem with abusing user privacy and all that, but it doesn't matter because he's loaded. Facebook's a very successful money-wise company. Microsoft